Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we started our discussion related to Docker. So we understood what is the Docker, why we need to go for Docker, Docker architecture, Docker setup, and some Docker commands also we have seen. Can you tell me what is the Docker and why we need to go for Docker? Docker is a containerization software. By using Docker, we can simplify our application deployment process. I want to execute my application in multiple machines. So instead of installing all the required softwares in all the machines, we can go for Docker. By using Docker, we can run our application on any platform. Now, so what is the architecture of the Docker? So if you want to implement containerization for your project, the first thing that we need to do, Docker file. We need to create a Docker file. What is the purpose of Docker file? Docker file will contain set of instructions. Docker file will contain set of instructions. So those instructions are used to specify what dependencies are required for our application. So once the Docker file is available, by using that Docker file, we are going to create Docker image. What will be there in the Docker image? Docker image contains code plus dependencies. So by using Docker file, we can create the Docker image. Image contains code plus dependencies. Once the Docker image is available, we can run the Docker image. When we run the Docker image, Docker container will be created. What is the purpose of Docker container? Docker container will run our application. Okay, here first we are going to write the file. From the file we are going to build the image. From the image we are going to run the container. This Docker image we can store in a platform called Docker registry. Which one we are going to use as a Docker registry? Docker Hub we are going to use as Docker registry. Some people will use Docker Hub and some people will use ECR. In the AWS, there is a service called ECR. By using ECR also, we can store our Docker images. So this is called Docker architecture. Docker file, Docker image, Docker container. Docker file will contain the instructions. By using those instructions, we will build the Docker image. Image nothing but a package which will have the code plus dependencies. Once we run that image, container is going to create. If you want to run your application in any machine, you just need to download the Docker image and you run the Docker image. When you run the Docker image, container will be created. Inside the container, our application will be executed. Container nothing but a Linux machine. That is a virtual machine which will be started by Docker. And next one. In the last session, we created one EC2 instance and we installed Docker in that. Connected to that machine. Let me go with Mobile Extra. Session SSH username, that is EC2 user or Ubuntu. So I have taken Ubuntu machine, PEM file, go to downloads, PEM file, click on OK. Fine. So with this, we are able to connect with our Linux machine. So this machine is based on Ubuntu distribution. Fine. You can check VMI. My username is Ubuntu. And we can check Docker-V. Docker version got installed. Then we can execute a command called Docker images. Right. It is asking sudo permission, sudo Docker images. So what is the purpose of this Docker images command? What is the purpose of Docker images command, guys? So here Docker images command is used to display what images are available in our system. Okay, I installed Docker in my computer. By using sudo Docker images, display Docker images available in our machine. In our machine, which images are available, we can check that by using Docker images command. Suppose I want to delete one image, then I will go for sudo docker rmi image id is available. Okay, sudo docker rmi. When I use sudo docker rmi, RMI command is used to delete the image. Currently, it is not able to delete the image. The reason, there is a container which is using that image. How to display the containers which are available? Sudo docker ps. Sudo docker ps is the command which is used to display the containers. So ps command will display only the containers which are in the running status. So currently any container in the running status? No. So docker ps-a. So when you go for ps-a, it is going to display all the running containers as well as stopped containers also. So currently, what is the status of these containers? These containers are exited. That means those containers are in the stopped state. Right now, so sudo docker images, to display the images which are available, remove docker image. To remove the docker image, sudo docker rmi. You can go for image name or you can go for image id. With that, image will be deleted. Right now, I want to display all the running docker containers. So display running docker containers. Running docker containers. So for that command, sudo docker ps. I want to display all the stopped docker containers also. Display stopped docker containers. So to display stopped docker containers, sudo docker ps-a. Right now, I want to remove the container, delete the container. So to remove the container, we will go for sudo docker rm container id. Every container will have a ID. By using that container ID, we can delete that container. Now, if you see, there are two containers available. Those containers are in the stopped state. Now I want to delete those containers. Sudo docker ps-a. So containers got displayed. I want to delete them. Sudo docker rm container id. Just double click. If you just select, it will be copied. Right click, paste. Now container got removed. I have here another container, sudo docker rm. This is the container id. Paste it. Done. So two containers got deleted. Let us go for sudo docker ps-a. So now when I go for a docker ps-a, any container is available, container not available, container not available. See the command sudo docker images. What is the purpose of docker images command? Display docker images available in our machine. So docker rmi. What is the purpose of docker rmi? If you want to delete the image, then you can go for docker rmi. Sudo docker ps. What is the purpose of docker ps? Display running docker containers. What is the purpose of ps-a? All the stopped containers. Sudo docker rm container id. It is used to remove the container. Got it? Next one. Now I want to download the docker image. Okay, download docker image. To download the docker image, sudo docker pull image name. If you want to download any docker image from the docker hub, then you can use a command called docker pull command. Now whenever we use pull command, it will download the image from docker hub. Let me see here. Docker images, sudo docker images. Currently there is one image available. I want to delete that image. Can you tell me how to delete it? Come on. Sudo docker rmi and image id. Okay, that image will be deleted. Image got deleted. Now execute once again. Sudo docker images. Currently any images available in our system? Currently in our system, no images are available. Now I want to download one image. What is the command to download the image? Docker pull command. We are going to use a command called docker pull. Sudo docker pull. There is a predefined image available that is called hello world. Hello world is a default image available in the Docker hub, that is a public image. So if you want to check in your system Docker's engine is working or not, you can pull hello world image and you can run that image. Now I'm using docker pull command. What is the purpose of docker pull command? Docker pull command is used to download the docker image. So that hello world image is our image or it is provided by docker? Is that our image or it is provided by the docker? That is provided by the docker. Now I have downloaded that image. Can you tell me how to verify the images now? How to verify the images? Sudo docker images. There is an image available with a name called hello world. Now I want to run the image. Okay, already they created a docker image. That image available in the docker hub. I just downloaded that image by using pull command. Once the docker image is available, we can run the image. What will happen when we run the image? When we run the image, container will be created. Now let us see how to run the image. Sudo docker run image name. What is the image name? Hello world. Image name is hello world. Execute it. Now can you please read this message? Just read that. Just read it. When I execute that image, it has given a message called hello docker. So they are explaining how that image got executed, how the container got created. See here, I am first executing this docker run hello world. Hello world is the name of the image. Run is used to run the image. When you run the image, docker container will be created. Hello from docker. This message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. That means when you are able to run the image, that means docker software working perfectly in your system. How this message got generated? Whenever we execute this run command, docker client contacted docker daemon. In our machine, docker engine got installed. That is called as docker client. That docker client contacted one docker daemon. What the docker daemon will do? Docker daemon will pull the image from the docker hub. Docker daemon created a container from the image which runs executable that produces the output we are seeing. The docker daemon streamed that output to the docker client which is sent to your terminal. So whenever we run the image, docker client will contact docker daemon. Docker daemon will download the image from the docker hub and it is going to run the image. Container will be created. That container will give some output. That output it is giving to docker daemon. Docker daemon printing that output on the terminal. So with this we are able to understand how to check what are the images available, how to remove the image, how to pull the image, how to run the image, how to see the containers which are running, how to see the containers which are stopped also. Fine. Here guys, observe. Whenever you go for docker run image name, sudo docker run. I'm going for a image with a name called hello world image. So whenever you execute this run command with the image name, first it will check in our system, do we have any image with that name? If the image available with the same name in our system, it will run that image. In our system, if that image is not available, then it will try to download the image from the docker hub and it will run that image. Now, so let me show you sudo docker images. Okay, sudo docker images. Currently, hello world image is available. Okay, now I want to delete that image. How can we do that? Sudo docker rmi image id. Sudo docker rmi image id. Unable to delete. Why it is unable to delete? that image is associated with a container. Image is associated with a container. Can you check container status? Sudo docker ps-a. What is the status of the container? What is the status of the container? Container status is exited. That means it is stopped. Now, if you want to clean up everything, then there is a command called sudo docker system prune-a. There is a command available, sudo docker system prune-a. That means delete all the stopped containers, delete all the unused images which are available in our system. Let's execute it. Now, see here what it is telling. This will remove all the stopped containers, all the networks which are not using images without any container associated. Okay, confirm. Yes, now everything got deleted in our system. What is the command I am using for that? So sudo docker system prune-a. What is the purpose of this command? It is used to clean up. It is used to clean up Docker content. Okay, so stopped containers will be deleted, unused images will be deleted, unused networks also will be deleted. Our Docker memory will be cleaned up when you execute docker system prune-a command. Now, in my Docker system, no images are available. Sudo docker images. Any image available, image not available. Now, generally we need to download the image and we need to run the image. But now I'm not going to download the image first. Directly I'm going for docker run hello world. What is the command? Docker run hello world. What is the difference between docker pull command and the docker run command? Docker pull means it is only to download the Docker image from the Docker hub. Docker run command to run the container based on the image. I don't have the image in the local. Directly I am using docker run command. Observe. What it is saying? Read this. Unable to find the image locally. So first it is checking in our system. Do we have image with that name? With that name, image is not available. It is downloading the image from the Docker hub and it is executing that image. When the image is executed, Docker container will be created. Able to follow me? Next one. Now I want to download my image available in the Docker hub. That is Spring Boot REST API image, and I want to run that image. So here, sudo docker pull Ashok ID / Spring Boot REST. Spring boot REST API. Spring Boot REST API. Now using default tag latest pulling image. So where that image available in the Docker hub, that is a public image. Anybody can pull that image based on the image name. Now I want to run the image. Okay, guys, in order to run the image, I'm going to use sudo docker run -p. I'm going to give port mapping. What is the purpose of a port mapping? Container port we need to map to the host port. Container port we need to map to the host port. Then only we can access our application. If you don't do the port mapping, then you cannot access your application. So I'm going for port mapping to access our application. Sudo docker run -p 9090:9090. This is my container port number. On which port number our application is running. That port number I am mapping to host port number. So this is our machine in which Docker is running. So I'm giving port number. Suppose if I do like this, is it valid? Yes, it is valid. So container is running on the port number 9090. On the host machine, I can map that to the any port number. So here I'm giving 9090. I'm giving the image name. So this is the command to run our Spring Boot application. Okay, execute this command. Observe carefully. Sudo docker run -p port mapping Ashok ID / Spring Boot REST API. Execute it. Execute it. So when I execute this command, it is running the Docker image. With that image, Docker container got created. Inside the container, our Spring Boot application is executing. But there is a problem. When I run that, can I execute any other command? In the terminal, can I execute any other command? I cannot execute any other command in the terminal because my application is running. The console is printing here. Application console messages are generated. If I want to execute any other command, I need to press Ctrl C. When I press Ctrl C, container will be stopped. Application cannot be accessed. So that's why when we are running the Docker container, we will specify -d. Okay, guys, we are going to specify -d. -d represents run the container in the detached mode. Run the container in the detached mode. What is the meaning of running the container in the detached mode? You create the container and close the terminal so that we can execute other commands. So in our scenario, if I don't use -d option, application will start. Container will be created, but terminal will not be open to execute further commands. We can't execute any other command. If I want to execute any other command, I need to go for Ctrl C. When I go for Ctrl C, container will be stopped. So that's why we are going to run Docker container in the detached mode. How to run the Docker container in the detached mode? By using -d option. Okay. Now see this. Take this command. Go to mobile extram. Execute. Sudo docker run -d -p port mapping image name. Execute. Now what happened? Container got created. Now can I execute some other commands now? Yes. Let me execute sudo docker ps. Yes, I'm able to see that. Now here the container is in the running status. This is the container ID. The container is in the running status. I want to access my application. Go to this machine, public IP, browser, :9090/welcome/Raju. Right? Yes, we are able to access our application which is running in the Docker container. 9090 is the port number. I enabled that port number in the security group. That's why we are able to access our application. Are you clear with my point? Perfect. Yeah. Run the Docker container in the detached mode. Run the Docker container in the detached mode. What is the meaning of running the container in the detached mode? Terminal will be open to execute further commands. Right. See these commands, guys. Sudo docker images. What is the purpose of images? To display the images available in our machine. RMI, remove the image. PS, running containers. PS-A, stopped containers. RM, remove the container. Pull to download the image. It is used to clean up Docker content. Unused images, stopped containers, everything will be deleted when you go for system prune -a. Run the container in the detached mode. -d. -d represents detached mode. -p represents port mapping. Perfect. Good. So with this, we are able to understand what is the Docker, why we need to go for Docker, how to set up the Docker, and some commands related to Docker. So what is the Docker? Why we need to go for Docker? Docker is a containerization software. What is the meaning of containerization software? Packaging application dependencies in a box and executing that. What is the benefit with that? Without bothering about the dependencies required for the application, we can run our application in any computer. So in the real time, our application should be deployed into multiple environments. Suppose if there are 10 environments available, we need to install all the softwares in the 10 environments. It is difficult. So the system which is working in one computer, the application which is working in one computer may not work in the another computer due to some software version issues. So to avoid such kind of, version issues, we are going to use containerization concept. Application plus application dependencies, we are going to package as one image. That image we can run in any computer. When you run the image, container will be created. Container is nothing but a virtual machine. It is a Linux machine. When I run the Docker image, one Linux machine will start. In that Linux machine, our application will be executed. Okay, fine. So Docker file will be available. What is the purpose of Docker file? What is the purpose of Docker file? Docker file contains instructions to build a Docker image. So in the Docker file, we are going to specify what softwares are required and where is our application, how to execute our application. We will specify in the Docker file. By using the Docker file, we are going to create Docker image. What is a Docker image? Docker image is nothing but a package which contains code plus dependencies. Once the Docker image is available, we can store the Docker image in the Docker Hub. What is a Docker Hub? Docker Hub is a registry where we can store our Docker images. Once the Docker image is available, anybody can pull the image and they can run the image. When they run the image, container will be created. What is a Docker container? Container nothing but our application will be executed inside that. Container nothing but a virtual machine in that our application is going to execute. Are you clear? Yes. Now, so the most important thing here is in the companies nowadays, earlier DevOps engineers used to write the Docker files, but nowadays they are asking developers only to write the Docker file. So as a developer, we should know how to write the Docker file, how to create the Docker image, how to store the Docker image in the Docker Hub, how to pull the Docker image, how to run the Docker image also, right? Now, we need to understand Docker file. We need to understand Docker file. Okay. Docker file contains set of instructions to build Docker image. Docker file contains a set of instructions to build Docker image. In the Docker file, we will use DSL keywords. We are going to use DSL keywords. DSL nothing but domain specific language. So some set of, in the Java we have some keywords like class, public, private, final, abstract, interface, like that. Similarly, in the Docker file also some set of keywords will be available. By using those keywords, we can create the Docker image. So what keywords will be available to create a Docker image? So there will be a keyword called from keyword will be available. From keyword is available. Then next one, maintainer keyword is available. From maintainer keyword is available. Run keyword will be available. CMD keyword will be available. Expose keyword will be available. Entry point keyword will be available. Some volume keyword will be available. Some arg keyword will be available. Okay. So, and copy keyword will be available. Copy keyword will be available. Add keyword will be available. Run keyword will be available. CMD, expose, entry point, volume, arg, like that. There are several keywords available in the Docker file. By using these keywords, we can write a Docker file. Using the Docker file, we can create the Docker image. Now, so first one, from keyword. Understand carefully, guys. So if you understand purpose of these keywords, then only you can write the Docker file. Yesterday, have you gone through that video? You understand how we are writing the Docker file? Which keywords I have used in that? From, copy, expose, entry point. From, copy, entry point, expose. Working directory command also we are going to use. Work dir. We are going to use another keyword called work dir keyword. From. From is a keyword which is used to specify base image for our image. Now, I have one Spring Boot application. I am having one Spring Boot application. For that Spring Boot application, I want to create a Docker image. So to run the Spring Boot application, we need just Java software. Are you guys getting my point? So Spring Boot application will be executed as a jar file. In order to run the jar file, Java software is required. So now, when you want to Dockerize Spring Boot application, you need to specify Java as a base image. I want to specify Java as a base image. I will tell to Docker, download Java to run my Spring Boot application. So here, our application will be packaged as a Docker image. Docker image will execute in the Docker container. Docker container is nothing but a Linux machine. So in that Linux machine, our Spring Boot application should be executed. To execute that Spring Boot application, Java software is required. So we need to tell to the Docker, download the Java software to execute my Spring Boot application. So which is softwares are required to execute our application, we will specify by using from keyword. From is used to specify base image. Now, for example, I want to write the Docker file for Spring Boot application. So I'm going to specify from default to JDK. So I'm going to specify from default JDK. What is the meaning of that? So in the Docker image, Java software should be added. Any festival is there today? Lot of disturbance, man. Huh? I don't know. Temple wala. Generally by 10:30, 11 o'clock, they will close the temple. Pata nahi aaj kyun aise chal raha hai wo. Right. Right. So we are trying to understand what is from keyword. Tell me, what is the purpose of from keyword? From keyword is used to specify base image. That means which is software is required to run your application. For example, if I go for normal Java application without Spring Boot, normal web application, I need a Tomcat server to run that application. I will specify base image as a Tomcat. If I want to run Python application, I will specify from Python. I want to download Python software to run that application. Suppose if I go for Angular application, I will specify Node.js as a base image to run the Angular application. So which is software is required to run your application, that we need to specify by using from keyword. Now, first one, from. From is used to specify base image to create our image. Now, for example, I want to go for Java. So I will specify from OpenJDK or whatever the JDK that you want, that we are going to specify by using this from OpenJDK. OpenJDK colon some version. Which version of the Java we need, that we are going to specify by using from keyword. Suppose if it is a Python application, then we are going to specify from Python some 3.3 version. Suppose if I want to go for Tomcat server, I need Tomcat server to run my war file, then I'm going to specify from Tomcat 9.5 something like this. Okay. Suppose if I am going for Angular application, then I'm going to specify Node some 15.1 something like that. Okay. So here from is a keyword that is used to specify base image to create our image. Now, if it is a Java application with Spring Boot, we will specify from JDK. I want Java software to run my application. If it is a Python application, we will specify from Python. If it is a normal Java web application, I will specify Tomcat server. I want to deploy war file by using Tomcat server. If it is a Angular or React application, we will specify Node as a base image. Then next one, there is a keyword called maintainer keyword is available. There is a keyword called maintainer. It is used to specify Docker file author. Docker file author. In the team, which developer is writing this Docker file, that a developer email ID and contact number will be available in the Docker file. Okay. Now we are going to specify maintainer like this. Maintainer, I'm going to specify my name something like this. Okay. So ashok@some gmail.com. So maintainer, it is optional, guys. Maintainer is just to improve the readability, which developer created this Docker file. So Docker file author information we are going to specify by using maintainer. And the next one, we are having a keyword called copy. Copy is used to copy the files from source to destination. Source to destination. I'm going to specify copy. The jar file is available in the target directory Spring Boot API.jar. Copy the jar file to some user directory, app directory, sb-api.jar. So now, whenever we are going to create the Docker image, code will be available in our system. That code we need to copy to the Docker container. Okay, host machine will be available and container machine will be available. We need to copy some files from host machine to container machine. To copy the files from host machine to container machine, there is a keyword called copy keyword is available. Now, so here from keyword is available, maintainer keyword is available, copy keyword is available. What is the purpose of from keyword? From is used to specify base image to create our own image. What is the purpose of maintainer? Maintainer is used to specify Docker file author. And what is the copy? Copy is used to copy the files from source to destination. So now the jar file is available on the host machine. I want to copy the jar file to the container. Okay, copy jar file is available here. Copy the jar file to this location. This is my host machine location. This is my container machine location. For example, if it is a normal Java application, I have a war file target. So here app.war file is available. I want to copy that war file user tomcat web apps /app.war. Okay, I want, if it is a normal web application, I want to copy the war file from host machine to the container machine. What is a host machine? In which machine Docker software is installed, that is called as a host machine. In which machine you will install the Docker software, that is called host machine. Now I have one Linux machine. In that Linux machine, I have one Linux machine. In this Linux machine, Docker software is available. So here my application, sir, I'm feeling a lot of disturbance, guys. I'm not able to focus. Sound వస్తుంది బాగా. For online people, no disturbance. ఎందుకు ఏం ఫెస్టివల్ ఏంటి? ఆహా, ఓకే ఓకే. Right, guys. So we understood what is copy command. Tell me, what is the purpose of copy command? Copy command is used to copy the files from source to destination. When we are going to Dockerize Spring Boot application, Spring Boot application will be packaged as a jar file. So that jar file will be created on the host machine. That jar file we need to copy from host machine to container machine. So for that we are going to use copy command. So here there is another command is available which is called add command. Add is used to copy the files from source to destination. Sir, already copy is available to copy the files from source to destination. Then why add command? The purpose of copy and add is same. The only difference is when you go for add command, destination can be a URL also, source can be a URL also. When you go for copy command, from one location to another location we can copy. Suppose the file is available in the S3 bucket. I want to download the file by using a URL and I want to keep in the destination. So if your source is some other address, then you can go for add command. Add is used to copy the files from source to destination. Copy is also used to copy the files from source to destination. In the interview, they will ask this question. What is the difference between copy and add in the Docker file? Both are used to copy the data from source to destination, whereas add will support for URL to copy. Copy command will support from one path to another path, whereas add command will support from URL to destination. Okay. And the next one, there is a command called run command is available. Run is used to execute instructions while creating Docker image. Now, so here there is a command called run command. Run command is used to execute some Linux commands while Docker image got creating. For example, while creating the image, I want to download the code from the GitHub and I want to package that code by using Maven. So any Linux command you can execute while Docker image getting created. By using a run command, we can do that. Run is used to execute instructions while creating Docker image. I can specify like this: run apt install git. So what is the meaning of that? Git to client software will be installed when the image getting created. Now I'm going to specify run apt install Maven. What is the meaning of that? Maven software will be installed. Now I can specify run git clone repo. It is going to download the code from the GitHub repository. So when this instruction will be executed, run instructions will execute. Run instructions are going to execute when Docker image is getting created. When the Docker image is creating, then only run instructions are going to execute. Fine. Next one, there is a command called cmd. Cmd is used to execute instructions while container creation. Okay. Image creation will be available. Container creation will be available. If you want to execute some instructions while creating the Docker image, then you will go for run command. So you will go for cmd command if you want to execute some instructions while container creating. For example, our application is available as a jar file. Now I am going to specify cmd java space -jar space jar file. What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? It is going to run my jar file. So when the cmd will execute, cmd will execute while creating the container. When the run command will execute, run command will execute while creating the image. cmd command will execute while creating the container. Clear? See these instructions. What is the from keyword? What is the from keyword? From is used to specify base image to create our own image. That means which is software is required for the image creation, we can specify that by using from keyword. What is the purpose of a maintainer? It is used to specify who is the developer of this Docker file. What is a copy? Copy is used to copy the files from source to destination. Okay. What is the add command? It is also used to copy the files from source to destination. What is the run command? Run is used to execute instructions while creating Docker image. What is the CMD? It is used to execute instructions while creating the container. Work dir. Work dir is used to specify working directory. Work dir is used to specify working directory. Now, my jar file is copied from host machine to container machine. Okay. Now, I should go to this container machine location to execute the jar file. So, this location is called as our working directory. Okay. Next one. There is a concept called entry point is available. Entry point. Entry point is used to execute instructions while creating container. CMD is also used to execute the instruction while creating the container. Entry point also used to execute instructions while creating the container. CMD instructions we can overwrite, whereas entry point instructions we cannot overwrite. Okay guys, fine. So now by using these keywords, we can write the Docker file. We can write the Docker file to Dockerize our Spring Boot application. Okay. Now fine. Assume that Spring Boot application is available. I want to write the Docker file for the Spring Boot application. First one, I'm going to, or else just let me write some dummy Docker file now. Let's go to our Docker machine. Okay. This is our machine. Now, let me go for sudo docker system prune -a. Yes. Now, everything is deleted. Let us go for sudo docker ps-a. There is one image container is available. Sudo docker rm. Yeah, currently nothing is available in our system. Now I want to write one Docker file. Okay, vi Docker file. What is the purpose of vi command? Vi command is used to edit the file. Okay, create the new file and open the file. Vi file is open, insert mode. So I'm going to specify from Ubuntu. What is the meaning of from Ubuntu? It is used to specify the base image. Okay. Now I am going to specify run echo hi. What is the purpose of echo? Just to print the message. Run echo hi, run echo hello. Run echo hello. CMD echo how are you? Right? Fine. So with this, let's save the file and close it. Cat Docker file. So what is there in my Docker file? What is there in my Docker file? From is available, run is available, CMD is available. Okay. With this, a dummy Docker file is ready. So with this Docker file, we need to create a Docker image. So to create the Docker image, first let us see sudo Docker images. Any image available in our system? Image not available in our system. Let me create one image. Sudo docker build. What is the command? Docker build command. Docker build command is used to build Docker image based on the Docker file. Now I created a Docker file. You can see content of my Docker file here. Basic content. I'm not Dockerizing Spring Boot or Java or Python. Just I'm taking one dummy Docker file with 3-4 instructions. From keyword is available, run keyword is available, CMD keyword is available. What is the purpose of from keyword? From is used to specify base image. What is the purpose of run keyword? To execute instruction while creating the image. What is the purpose of CMD? To execute the instruction while creating the container. Clear? Now, Docker file is available. With this Docker file, I want to create a Docker image. Okay. Now, observe sudo docker build -t first image space dot. Okay, that is the command which is used to build Docker image. Docker build -t represents image tag name. Dot represents it will check in the current working directory for the Docker file. Okay, so if I remove the dot, it is not going to accept it. Okay, I need to specify dot. When I specify the dot, it will check for the Docker file in the present working directory. Sudo docker build -t image name space dot. Execute. What is happening now? What is happening now? Docker image is getting created. Did not complete successfully. Exit the code. Hi, not found. One minute. Now, so with this, we are able to build our Docker image. What is the command I am using? Sudo docker build -t image name space dot. Now you can see the Docker image got created. If you observe here, hi, hello printed because image got created. Run instructions got executed when the image is creating. CMD instruction executed, CMD not executed. CMD not executed. Why CMD not executed? Container is not yet created, just image got created. Okay, now here this is the Docker file we have. Okay, clear cat Docker file. This is our Docker file. So how we are creating this Docker file? Create below Docker file, create a Docker file with below content. Okay, now what is the file name we are going to use? File name will be Docker file, no extension, no .txt, nothing, just we are going to keep it as a Docker file. Now once the Docker file is created, create Docker image using above Docker file. What is the command for that? Sudo docker build -t image name. You can give any image name. First image space dot. What is the purpose of dot? What is the purpose of dot? Dot is used to specify present working directory to check for the Docker file. So now you can see Docker image got created. Verify sudo docker images. Yes, you can see first image got created just a minute ago. Now I want to run the image. Can you tell me how to run the image? Come on, sudo docker run image name or image ID. Okay, now can you see what happened? How are you? Why how are you is printed? CMD instruction got executed. What is the difference between run and CMD? What is the difference between run and CMD? Run will execute at the time of creating the image. CMD will execute at the time of creating the container. Are you guys clear with my point? Yes. Now look at these commands. That when we are creating the image, right? So it will print that instruction status, right? Right. Correct. So whenever you are creating the image, how the image is creating, it is printing the logs also. That's why you can see a lot of content. At the time of creating the image, I want to download the code, I want to package the code. You can do that in two ways. Manually, you can download the code, you can package that manually, or else you can tell to Docker also to do that by using run command. I don't want to download the code from the GitHub manually. I will write only Docker file. My Docker file only will download the code, will package the code, will copy the file, and will run the application. If you don't write it in the application, if you keep it outside, directly it will download the code. Right. Good, guys. So with this, we are able to understand how to write a simple Docker file and how to create Docker image and how to run the Docker image. What is the command to create the Docker image? Sudo docker build -t image name space dot. What is the purpose of dot? To check that in the present working directory. If you can change the Docker file name also. So it's not mandatory that you need to use only this name. This is the default name. If you change the file name, then you need to give that file name as a input. Now, docker build -t image name -f file name, Docker file name. Okay, so if you don't follow this naming convention, and then you can give any file name abc.txt. Okay, that file you need to give as input by using -f. If you follow the naming convention, then writing this -f file name is not required. So you can create a Docker file and you can create the Docker image and you can run the Docker image. So now I hope you got better clarity how to write a Docker file and how to build a Docker image. So in the tomorrow session, we need to Dockerize one Java application without Spring Boot, one Java application with Spring Boot, and I will show you how to Dockerize Angular application also. Clear, guys? Fine. So please practice this before coming to tomorrow's session. We'll continue tomorrow. Yeah, guys. So tomorrow, Shekhar sir multi-threading class is available at 10 o'clock. Then what about JRTP, Docker? Huh? Sorry? For our batch, multi-threading is done. For 19th batch, multi-threading is pending. Tomorrow, sir is going to take that. Then at what time we can take Docker class? I have DevOps class. Okay, we'll decide that. Online students, any questions? Anyone? Any questions from today's class?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yesterday you were telling to watch on video to dockerizing our Spring Boot application, right?
Correct.
I watched that. I have a doubt in that video.
Yes, tell
so
me.
do I need to download Docker software for my Windows OS to dockerizing Spring Boot application?
You can do that in the Windows or you can do that in the Linux. Here I'm doing in the Linux.
Well, sir, in that video you are doing the Windows.
I explained that in the Windows machine. You can do that in the Linux. Either you can do Docker, you can use in the Windows or you can use in the Linux. No problem. Anything is fine.
Sir, for Windows, can I download the Docker file? No, Docker software.
You need to download and you have to install.
I have to download and install, sir.
Correct. Practice in the Linux, it is better.
Hi, sir. Good morning.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Sir, I have Dockerized the application the way you told in the video. But, sir, I want to know means how I can Dockerize my SQL into that. How I can create a Docker
I will
image.
explain, sir. Docker Compose topic is there. I will explain that.
Okay, sir. Okay. Actually,
Okay.
I have tried, but I'm not able to do that.
Yeah, I will explain that, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
How to use Spring Boot with MySQL by using Docker Compose, we will discuss in the class. Okay.
Sir, when Docker has all this capability, why we need RDS, sir?
When you go for a Docker database, right, that will be available only in the container. What about the backup security? Who will take care of that?
Okay. Means for these features, we need to go with RDS.
Right.
And sir, if we are creating multiple containers, right? Our, our whatever EC2 we are creating, that is only having 8 GB of RAM. Sir, how these all containers, virtual machine
In
will
the
get?
real time, containers will be not created on one machine. Containers will be created on the multiple machines. We don't run 100 containers in one machine.
Okay.
Hello.
Else,
Okay.
okay, sir.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes. Sir, yesterday I installed in my laptop Docker desktop software, sir. But
Okay.
right now it's not working from yesterday. What is happening, sir?
You need to run that Docker engine, sir. So go to Docker engine and start that Docker engine. That is the reason it's better to practice in the Linux. Don't
And
practice
sir,
in the Windows.
BIOS is also required to install.
इसलिए better to practice in the Linux instead of going for Windows.
Windows
Windows
इस पे नहीं करना चाहिए सर अभी डेस्कटॉप पे.
हाँ Linux पे कर लेना. वो Linux फ्री मशीन है ना आपको. Linux पे
ये
इंस्टॉल करके प्रैक्टिस कर लो.
Okay.
Okay, so we can delete the software, whatever we installed.
Correct.
Docker.
Correct.
Okay, sir.
In live project also you just AWS, right?
Right.
No.
Tomorrow you are going to Dockerizing the Spring Boot application, no, sir? Live.
Yes, sir. If you watch that video, you can do that on your own. Anyhow, I will also explain in the class.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, guys. So tomorrow at what time we need to take the class? I'm thinking on that. Tomorrow is Saturday, right?
Yes.
Tomorrow your Angular class will not be there. He will take Monday to Friday. Huh? I don't know React, man. I can't teach you. I'm thinking, sir, tomorrow at what time I can take the class for you to work on the Docker? We'll see. I will update in the group about the timing. So we need to work on how to Dockerize Java application, how to Dockerize Spring Boot application, and I will show you one application with the Python also, and how to Dockerize Angular application. I mean, basically how to Dockerize a front-end application that we are going to learn. Once it is done, we need to learn Docker Compose. What is Docker Compose? How to work with the Docker Compose? I think another 1.5 hours is required to complete our discussion on the Docker. So yes. How to create? You need to execute Docker run for 2 times. That is orchestration. That is different story. So when we go for Kubernetes, we will understand. Yes, Kubernetes will take care of containers creation. Here we are creating the containers manually. In the Kubernetes, it will take care of containers creation. So by using that Kubernetes, we can create 100 containers also at a time. That is for a high availability purpose. always we will run our application with multiple containers. So in the Kubernetes, we will understand. Our website queue open. Yeah, I'm uploading. Website is not responding.
Sir, please upload the content, sir.
Sorry,
AWS content, Docker content, please upload in portal, sir.
content or notes?
Notes.
Yeah, I will do that. Sir.
Yes, sir. Create please separate.
Yeah.
Means,
Fine, guys. So tomorrow class timing, I will update in the group. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The remaining people, the people who want to attend multi-threading, you can attend the multi-threading class. Offline class is there tomorrow at 10 to 1 p.m. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow. 2 days class will be there for multi-threading. Tomorrow JRTP class will be there. We will complete the pending topics and the Docker. Timing I will update in the group. Okay. Thank you
Okay,
guys.
sir.